Did you know there were 6 migrations through the Bering Strait? But did you know the natives was not the first migration? Check this out real quick. This is the book right here, The Racial History of Man by Roland B. Dixon. Thus, the Negro race is usually characterized as being dolichocephalic. Look at it again. Thus, the Negroid race, the Negro race, is usually characterized as being dolichocephalic, hypsy, and orthocephalic, and platyrian. And here we go. It says the Australoid is dolichocephalic, camming, and orthocephalic, and platyrian. I'm not focused on these types because this is more in the European and Asiatic and native craniology, their measurements and things like that. But let's move on. And real quick, this is what Google say about the dolichocephalic. The dolichocephalic is an adjective that means having a head that is longer than the expected relative to its width. A head is considered dolichocephalic if its width is less than 76% of its length from the front to the back. And these are the people that follow under the dolichocephalic perspective. The Australian Aborigines, Native Southern Africans, dolichocephalic, and you see it's talking about how they head shaped like dogs and stuff like that. We ain't gonna get into all that. That's the animal perspective. We're talking about the human perspective. So it's Australians and it says Southern Africans. We'll just say Negroid people. That's the best way to say it. They're just telling you which peoples have these types of skulls. So it's just the Negro and Australoid people. Moving on, going right back to this book right here. Further discussions of these questions may be left to the chapter dealing with the South American peoples. They are referred to here in order to emphasize the extreme importance for any theory of securing adequate cranial material from the whole Middle American region. That any of the early physical types should still survive in such a migration swept. Narrow corridor is surprising, yet the strong dolichocephalic factors present among the Otomi and some of the southern Mayan tribes seem to show that it's not possible. That is not impossible. Let me show you what these people look like. Boom. And there go the one that came later. You know who this is. Let the picture speak for itself. Negroid, Australoid type of people. Negroid, Australoid type of people. No, this is the native right here. This is the Negro Australoid people right here. Negroid, Australoid type of people. This is in the Codex Mendoza. Just to let y'all know where I'm getting the source from. This is the Codex Mendoza. Real quick, we need to get the understanding of what a proto-Negro is. We're not going to read this whole thing, but we need to read some of it. In structure probably tall, the proto-Negroes may be supposed to have been dark brown in skin color with strongly curly or frizzled hair. And it says among those who remained within the tropical regions, the pigmentation was intensified. The hair became increasingly woolly, so that the Negroids peoples today may be regarded as much blacker with hair much woolier than their remote ancestors of 30 or 40,000 years ago. We're going to stop right there. Let's move. I'll just give you an understanding of what a proto-Negroid is, which is the first Negroid people on this planet. From the foregoing, we may perhaps venture to suggest that there was only stratum of proto-Negroid and proto-Australoid types in the Mexican region, driven back into the arid areas of the Northeast in prehistoric times, but surviving as minorities still among the Otomi and the Tarahumari. I think I said that right, in the Pima. And it says the dominant elements, however, were everywhere a mixture of the Palapine and the Alpine types. Basically, the Alpine types is what you call the Native Americans today, but they said before these final people came, the natives came, it was only Negro and Australoid types. So they came by the mixture happened by the final uh, migration. But let's continue. In the northeastern area, the primary factor among the Iroquois, Lenape, and southern New England tribes was the proto-negroid. In the present area, this type is relatively slight importance. In the islands off of the California coast, it was lacking among the males, although present as a small minority among the female. Again, the Lenape, the Iroquois, and the southeastern New England tribes were proto-negroid. Their first existence were negroid, but something happened later on. What happened? Who changed their identity? It is not found in the Paraque and occurs only as a trace in the Ute and the Paiute. The basket maker crania, however, show a contrast to the more modern population. What happened? More modern population, and that the proto-Negro type is present in large amount of both sexes. So what was there first? This would appear to indicate that this type was at an early date and quite prominent in the portion of the continent. All right. So let's move on to these charts real quick. This migration chart was created by Dr. Dixon. And you see right here, he said this is the first migration where you see the black. That's why all the Australians and also the dotted lines, the slanted lines, that's why all the Australoid people came, right? Again, this was the first migration. So it was nothing but black people here. The second migration into America and South America was the Negroid Falsum. This is the proto-Negroid people, where you see all the dots and black polka dots, stuff like that. These were mainly the eastern and central tribes of America. You see, this was their first Indians that was here. The third migration was the Algonquin. This is a mixture between the Negroid and the Australoid people. The Algonquin people were originally Negroid/Australoid people. That was the mixture between the two. The fourth migration was the Eskimo. You see the Eskimo coming down. This is when the Native American factors start coming in. The Eskimo. The fifth migration was the Mongoloid. This is the Native American factor. The final ones that came here. Now the sixth migration is crazy. I'm gonna have to do part 2 on the sixth migration because that's gonna blow your mind. We had another wave of Native Americans coming here, but not through this perspective. They came here through other means, right? But why was they coming here? Some say they was coming here to escape the cold, but through the old books, they came here for another reason. And you're gonna find out in part 2. 100 likes, give me 100 likes, 100 likes, and I'm gonna do part 2. Thank you. Did you know